Go ahead, please.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Dear all SESMI members and participants, Assalamu alaikum and very warm welcome to webinar arranged by Saudi Society for Medical Education Riyadh Journal Club. I'm Dr. Shazia Iqbal, Chairperson and Organizer for Continued Professional Development Activities at Saudi Society for Medical Education. Our society facilitates and encourages medical educators to gain all those skills which can help them to produce physicians who are well prepared to serve the fundamental purposes of medicine. To cope up the challenging, innovative, and integrated health professional education, medical educators need to know the important strategies which can help them to train their graduates towards collaborative patient care and community services. The objective of this session is to know the essential skills required for health professional educators, how medical educators can encourage rich interaction and exchange between different health professions to enhance mutual understanding and awareness. The topic of today's presentation is essential skills for health professional educators, and I'm very much honored and delighted to present the distinguished speaker, Dr. Mona Hamoud Alsheikh. Very warm welcome, Dr. Mona, to SESMI Riyadh office. Dr. Mona Alsheikh is PhD in neurophysiology. She is Master's in Health Profession Education Advanced Assessment Certificate from University of Dundee. She is working as Assistant Professor of Neurophysiology and holds the position of Vice President of Saudi Society of Medical Education. And she possesses academic quality consultant at Prince Noura University. She is an accreditation reviewer with the National Education and Training Evaluation Commission since 2012. She is member of Central Assessment Committee, previous chair of Medical Education Department and head of Education Center, College of Medicine at Imam Abdurrahman bin Faisal University. Her main achievements are the establishment of Medical Education Department and Faculty Development Program, Interprofessional Essential Skills for Health Professional Educator course at Medical School of Imam Abdurrahman bin Faisal University. Dr. Mona has over 100 articles in well-known journals, and she has presented in well-known conferences. She is a reviewer of many educational and medical journals. She has been awarded with Prince Muhammad bin Fahad Award for Scientific Research. Her main research area is learning theories, cognition, assessment, and competency-based education. Before we move ahead with this seminar, I would request President SESMI Riyadh office, Professor Khalid bin Abdurrahman, to give some opening remarks. Professor Khalid.
Thank you, Dr. Shazia. Again, I'm so glad to have Dr. Sheikh with us tonight, this night. And also, I am so glad that the members who join us tonight are above 40, and hopefully some other members, they will join us again in this wonderful evening. This evening, we have Dr. Mona, who is very active indeed in medical education, and she organized a series of webinars during COVID crisis. And I remember their advertisement, and she worked so hard to make the activities of medical education in our society and also in the country to be as active as possible. And I'm so glad that she will join us, and she will talk about so topical and important topic, which is the essential skills of all health professionals who who taking care of our students at the level of undergrad. And from here, I ask all our colleagues, this is your society. And if you have any idea to share it with us as a talk, a webinar, a short course, please don't hesitate to contact Dr. Shazia as head of faculty development subcommittee in our SISMI Riyadh office, so that she will, inshallah, schedule you as a speaker in one of the upcoming seminars. Thank you, Dr. Mona, for your accepting our invitation, and hopefully we will hear something that all of us will be reflecting in our practice, in our day-to-day practice. Again, thank you for joining us, and I'm sure it's gonna be one of the wonderful webinars in our series that Dr. Shazia taking care and organizing in this very important region, the Riyadh region. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Thank you, Prof. So without any further ado, Dr. Mona, over to you.
Thank you. Jazakallah khair, Prof. Khalid Abdurrahman. I am privileged and honored to be invited to this talk, which I will consider it as a discussion and like a sharing of some history and some stories, which could be probably of some help to all of us, because we are all sharing the same burden and the same dream and the same commitments. So the story of the essential skills in health profession education goes through to since the 2002. I would call that a milestone at IAU, because at that time I had just finished my master in health profession education from Arabian Gulf University. And at the same time, the Ministry of Higher Education approved a parallel program for medicine, which was side by side with the traditional program, which has been running since 1975. But this parallel program had all innovative strategies of teaching. So there was, it was system-based, blocks, problems, team-based. There were early clinical exposure, spirality, all of these new educational terminology and the strategies. And we realized at that time that our faculty were not ready for this. Some of them, I would say 80% of them, have never been exposed to an innovative strategy for teaching. So we had instances where in the middle of the PBL session, the facilitator stands up and starts lecturing because they have never been, they couldn't really carry on. So I hope that our story will be of benefit to you. So the talk today is about essential skills in health profession education, which we call as HB. And it is made, the three jigsaw puzzle you see here are the three modules from which it consists. We thought that we will create something like the BLS course. Like a student who graduates from medicine cannot practice internship or get his certificate unless they get the BLS. Or for us professionals, if we want to renew our license from Saudi Commission, we have to do the BLS or refresh our skill there. So we wanted something like that, that no faculty, people are not born as teachers. I mean, they could be top-notch in their field, but they still don't know how to teach. And we had a lot of faculty like that who had been teaching for 30 years, but when they stood up to do the micro-teaching, they had a lot of pitfalls. So we wanted to do this, and we wanted it to be mandatory. So I will tell you on how my struggle with the ministry to make this like an established minimum requirement for any faculty who teaches in the health profession. So the objectives of this talk will be a little history of the faculty development program at IAU, how we developed and how we progressed, drivers and evidence for the HB the content of the HB. I'll just give you nutshells from here and there. And then we will talk about the evaluation of the HB program, which is the main progress that I did last year when I graduated as my project for the FAMER Fellowship. Right, so the issue is that it is a tough job. The teacher of the 21st century is not only fighting with, he has to acquire the skills that he wants his students to have. And at the same time, he has to acquire skills on how to teach those skills. So it's like double jeopardy, and it's not an easy job. So faculty development is really very tough and challenging. And I will go to the definition of continuous medical education by Davis, which says that anything that goes in after the formal education is called CME. And while CPD is actually like a professional development, which is usually within the specialty of the professional. Lifelong learning is a bit longer. So we are talking about everything that goes from day one till the end of, even after retirement. This is a lifelong learning, and it is a very important concept. This is why many colleges of medicine now put it as one of their graduate attributes. This is a definition by Murad. So if you like, CPD is more related to the profession. CME is more general. And I would say that the HB lies within the CME because it was mainly for educational skills, knowledge, and competencies. And I hope that some of it will go into lifelong learning. 2007, so in 2002, we realized that those faculty were not equipped with the skills we needed for the parallel program, where we had a lot of ambition. So I remember writing a list of the topics or the areas where we wanted to develop our faculty. And that list, guess what happened to it? It was moved to trash, unfortunately. So we kept on teaching with faculty who had minimum educational skills about the new trends and new strategies of teaching. In 2005, the college gave me the privilege of qualitatively evaluating the exam items for the finals for all the disciplines, all the subjects. I'm talking about the traditional program. So I went on and we found that 40% of the items were flawed. Flawed mean they had some structural flaw in them. And that fact, struck the college and even the vice rector for education at that time. So we were hit, and I rank ordered the departments from the best to the lowest. At that time, we didn't have a prep year. So the best department in item-wise structure was biology. The worst two departments were family and community medicine and anatomy. The reason being that, family and community medicine, they have these long lecture with a lot of text. So they had very short stem, very long options. It's like, multiple true and false. While the anatomy by its nature, it's very hard to create negative. They had negatively stemmed, negative stem-based stems. So everything was accepted. And it was easy for them to have 3 positive, and then they create only 1 wrong option. So that fact actually struck the college, and they said, okay, we have to do something. So in 2005, the medical education unit was established, and we started with a lot of work on assessment. So we had batteries and batteries of workshops on assessment, how to do a blueprint, how to write items, even standard setting. We did the Angoff method, I remember at that time. 2007 was a golden year. In 2007, Prof. Raja Madanayaka, who's one of the best teachers I met in my life, and he is the reason I went to do my MHPE in AGU, because I heard that he was going to leave, so I thought I'd better catch him before he leaves. So that's beside the point. So he visited us for 1 month. He stayed with us, and he made a series of workshops to our faculty, and he told us he wrote a report about the medical education unit, roles, and about the parallel and the traditional program. And I remember him giving a lecture or a workshop on 3 to 5. And that 3 to 5 was how to, he was explaining to them the cognitive domains of the NCAA. So if you remember, 2007 was when the NCAA was established. So Ian Allen, who was the head of the NCAA at that time, thought that the cognitive domain will be 5, the ones we were using till 3 years back. So he wanted to shift from knowledge, skills, and attitudes, which was the Bloom's taxonomy, to the 5 domains. And this was a mandatory workshop. So everybody attended, they had their course mix, and they fixed them. Another person who visited us in 2007 was Prof. Clark Blaine Hazlitt from Alberta University. At that time, he was in the University of Hong Kong, China University of Hong Kong. And he also gave us workshops for 3 days. And he gave me a very important point. He said, your faculty are amazing. I have never been to a place where 70 faculty of College of Medicine attended for me 3 consecutive days without being. So we had this golden opportunity. Our faculty are thirsty for development. They will attend. And if we don't tell them, they come and they are upset. Why didn't you announce it enough? We want to be there. So we had a very keen faculty. So this photo, by the way, was from GCC 7. And Prof. Clark Hazlitt, he surprised the audience with his Saudi uniform. And this was in 2009. In 2007, there was an important moment. We had a workshop by the medical education unit with the president of the university attended. And I remember standing at the podium and going closer to him. He was in the front row, and I looked him in the eye, and I said, the quality of our exams are, our students are facing educational terrorism. And believe me, within a week, we had the scanner. So we bought our first OMR scanner in the College of Medicine. We started doing statistical item analysis and giving feedback to this made a big difference to our faculty educational enthusiasm. So we wanted a faculty development program that is interprofessional. So we did not want to cover the medical faculty alone, but all the health profession colleges. We wanted to be systematic, which means tailored to the faculty, institutional, and national needs. And we wanted it to be systematic, meaning evaluated at different levels. And I'll tell you what we mean by that. So the first step was to do the needs assessment. So in 2008, we started doing this questionnaire where we wanted like 110 faculty from the College of Medicine. They participated. And what was unique about this questionnaire is that it had double scoring. It was published in the Education for Health. And what was unique about it is that not only the faculty were telling us whether the topic is important or not, but they were also telling us how did they self-assess themselves regarding their skill in that area. So we created a grid like this, where we have poor, average, high self-assessment rating versus the importance of that skill or knowledge or competence. And it was these four cells here that were the most important. So they were rank ordered from high poor, followed by high average, followed by moderate poor, followed by moderate average. So the end result of this study was a listing of topics from highest to lowest. Now, this was challenged by some literature, which said that faculty, sometimes they don't know what is important to them. They don't know how to do need assessment. We cannot rely on what the faculty say. So we thought then, let us triangulate. And now we went to the students. We had 570 students answering the DREAM, which was an education environment measurement tool. And we did this on the 2 parallel programs, the traditional and the PBL. And it is a 40 items tool, 5-point Likert scale, and we added qualitative component at the end, which said what was the best thing that you had in the college, what was the worst thing, and what are the things you need to, how can you fix it, or what are the things that you need to change. So the student opinion gave us a lot of insight about what they are missing in their education. What are the parts, like, for example, they talked a lot about feedback, and the DREAM tests, on 5 subscales. So it tells you about the teachers, about the learning, self-academic development, all of these factors, which gave us a lot of insight. And the qualitative component also gave us insight into what was going on. Then we looked into the college requirements, and the college at that time was thinking of adopting a new curriculum. So the parallel program was phasing out, and they were thinking of buying or a partnership with Monash, having a new curriculum, which was also innovative, theme-based, and this and that. So we had to take into consideration the requirement of the college. Then we also had to take into consideration the requirements of the National Commission for Academic Accreditation and Assessment. The NCAA, when it was first established in 2007, they wanted us to do surveys, and they wanted to have every discipline or every course to have course specification, and they wanted the faculty to have course reports in which they reflect on the educational process. And this was not easy for those who have never had any training before. So we had to put that into consideration. So all of this was considered when the essential skills in health profession education course. So all of this melted into the creation of this course, which was only of 9 days. We had to put into consideration that faculty are very busy. Some of them have clinics, some of them have ORs or surgeries and teaching loads. So we had to have something that is short, nutshell, but which included all those essential skills that without them, the faculty will not be able to function. And it was designed around the 12 roles of the teacher by Harvard. So we wanted to give them something that will help them in fulfilling their role as a teacher. In between the modules, there were assignments, like 2 or 3 assignments that the faculty, that were application of the knowledge that they had during the module and that they submitted online and got feedback for. Now, the content of these modules have evolved over the years. So we had to add a few things, like we are erupting, like some needs by the curriculum or some needs of the NCAA or some deficiencies that we felt that our faculty had, we had to add or change. But generally, the general outline was that, for example, we started with teaching and learning, which was we thought it's better to start with the teaching and learning. And we had accreditation by the Saudi Commission for 58 CME hours for the 3 modules, plus minus. We had to take it every round. We had to do a new accreditation. And this helped a lot because I think faculty were very keen to attend because of the CME. It was offered from 8 to 3 p.m. daily. And let's just go over what happens in teaching and learning. We used to talk about the roles of the teacher, the learning theories, how learning occurs, how to plan the lesson based on the learning theories, how to make your lecture interactive, and how to lecture for higher cognitive domains. And most importantly, they were practicing micro-teaching. So they were asked to prepare, come and give a 10-minute talk, and we had forms that the peers, they will evaluate them, and we will show the candidate his video after he speaks, and he had the chance to do self-assessment. So it was, I think this micro-teaching was very powerful because we had feedback from the faculty saying this was the first time we listened to ourselves or we saw ourselves, and we've been teaching for 30 years, we've never seen ourselves. This was a powerful technique. So this is an example of the Batch 9 program, and it shows you. Now, one thing we learned that and this was very powerful in the feedback, that they wanted activities. The more the activities, the more the hands-on, the more they enjoyed and they were happy. Regardless, I mean, they wanted theory, but they said, okay, theory we can read, just give us pre-reading materials. So we used, when they register, to send them a big chunk actually, of reading material. We used to send it by email, then we used to put it on CDs, then later on we started putting it on a USB. So they wanted to read the theory and come and apply. So we increased the activities, and you see that it was mainly about. So one of the activities we did in the learning theories, of course, in the learning theories, we discussed the role of the instruction designer, that he was there as a diagnostic or as a prescriptive mode to solve a problem in instruction. So he used all his knowledge about education to do that. We talked about the major learning theories. So behaviorism is mainly talk about or considers the mind as a black box. Whatever you put, you get. The whole issue is linking stimulus with response, while cognitivism considers the mind as a computer. So there's a lot of processing, there's a lot of schemata formation, there's a lot of structuring, linking information together. So, and all your role as an instructional designer is to build the schemata, help them, with the germane load, and then help them to recall or understand or remind them of things or links, cues that will help them recall. Constructivism was totally different. It's where the students themselves or the learners discover the information by themselves. So we had to give them ample time with a lot of artifacts and things so that they can discover the information themselves. And we discussed the cognitive load theory, the external load, the internal load, and the germane load, and schemata formation. I want to bring your attention, and I will share this link in the chat box. This is a recent. Oh, we don't want it to work now. I think it's working now. Okay, this is a plenary by Prof. Dylan William on learning, and he says, okay, I can put it later. He says that learning is about long-term memory. If I don't create long-term memory, then I have not done learning. So it's a very powerful message he gives, and I really agree with a lot of things he said. It's a beautiful plenary. I hope that you have a chance to listen to it. So I'll give you an example of the activities we used to take in learning. So I tell them, for example, now you've had your talk about learning theories, and we used to do a pre-test and post-test, multiple choice on Socrative, just to see if the talk changed their knowledge about the theories. But the activity was about, we gave them a very simple concept like the Pythagoras theorem. And we told them, we divided the 6 groups of the candidates into 2 groups each. So 2 groups they were acting as behaviorists, how they will design an instruction to teach students about the Pythagoras theorem using the behaviorist theory. And what these guys did was, several questions which required, they explained the theory, like the square of the tangent is equal to the square, additive square of each of these lines of the right angle triangle. And then they gave them examples and they wanted the response. That was very simple. The group which was doing cognitivists, now they had to follow the Ghani theory. They had to do, for example, go to the prior learning. What is a triangle? How many types of triangles to have? What is a right angle triangle? What is, for example, the addition of all these angles of each triangle? And then they will go into how long. They give them example, they give them a problem. Like you have a fence, you have a triangle shaped lawn and you need to build a fence on this side. So how long should it be if you know this side and this side and this? So it is like, treating the brain as a problem solver, as a computer. But what was interesting is the constructivist group. Now here, they had a lot of these things. So what they created was, and it was beautifully done by the participants, they had different triangles and different sizes of squares, and they gave the learners these, and they showed that the area of the square, which is over the tangent, was equal to the area of the 2 other squares. And by this, they discovered. So there was no instruction given. It was the learners who discovered the Pythagorean theorem. And it was an interesting way that made them really apply the theories of learning in instructional design. Another activity was about how do you design, this was by the way changed into 50 minutes because our lectures are 10 minutes break, 50 minutes lecture. And we told them that you have a 50 minutes lecture. What are you going, tell us every 10 minutes what you are going to do. And this was an application of the Ghani 9 events. You start by gaining attention, then you inform the objectives, then you dig into prior learning, present the content, provide guidance, and so on. You all are aware of these 9 events of using them into instruction. For example, gaining attention, I used to use that when I give my lecture about demyelinating disorders. I tell them the story of the girl, 4-year-old girl who died in the ICU. It's a true story. Who died in the ICU of the teaching hospital because she had the Guillain-Barré syndrome, but she was diagnosed late. They ended having respiratory failure before, and when they supported her, it was too late. So stories like that make your students, they open their eyes and ears. They want to know what you are going to say next because they don't want to miss a patient. And then I tell them it's a stigma to lose a patient with Guillain-Barré because it's a temporary, it's like a common cold of the nerves. So do you want to lose a patient like that? And they become really interested in knowing what you want to say. Stating the objectives is very important. Today, when I started my lecture, I gave you the objectives. Otherwise, you won't be knowing what we are going to talk about. And to tell you, I had a questionnaire given to students, about 900 or 1,200, it's about 3-4 batches, consecutive batches, about what is the most important thing in a lecture. And we had a list of 10 things. And the one thing that was consistently the most important in all the batches was that you have to tell them when you move from one objective to the next, that you have to have a demarcation. Okay, I'm talking now about homeostasis, for example. So I finished negative feedback. I'm now going into positive feedback or something like that. So the students sometimes get lost and they don't know when you transition from one point to the next. So objectives. Then we talk about prior learning and we have to stimulate. For example, when I explain the sensory system to in neurophysiology, I tell them a receptor is that part of the nervous system that changes one form of energy into another. And you have heard in physics something that does that. So they keep, some of them, they will say transducer and say, okay, a receptor is merely a transducer. And when we talk about vision, then it is photoelectric energy into electricity, mechanical energy into electricity, chemical energy into electricity, and the hearing is audio or mechanical energy again into electricity. We discuss bedside teaching. We have a whole talk on bedside teaching, the theory behind it, and what should be the structure of it. We talk about study guide, and we discuss the AMY Guide 16 by Ronald Harden, and study guides can serve 3 main purposes: information, activities, management of learning, and that you should try to aim at the center. Many study guides, they're just information giving. We should avoid that. So if you find it like that, try to shift it towards the center. Then the second module is about course design. And the most important part of this is how to write a learning outcome. It was like a wall we were stuck to, and I call it square number 1. If the faculty could not write an objective or a learning outcome, how could you claim that you have competency-based education? How could they write course specification or course report or measure learning outcomes? They have to learn that. So we had a long session, maybe half a day, on how to write learning outcomes, what learning outcomes are all about, and they had so they learned how to write it properly, how to criticize or critically appraise a list of learning outcomes, and they had peer assessment and peer criticism of other learning outcomes. So we discussed with them in details what a learning objective should contain, what is the difference between course learning outcome and program learning outcome, and or a key learning outcome. And then we discussed Bloom's taxonomy: knowledge, skills, and attitude or affection. And they go into the various verbs to create outcomes for each one of these. And then we talk about the low, the knowledge taxonomy, the low order thinking skills, higher order thinking skills. And we tell them that it's at least 70 to 80% of your items should be of the HOTS or the higher order thinking skills. They don't like that, by the way. Then we talk about competence. What is the difference between competence and outcome? We tell them that competence combines more than one outcome. So it could have knowledge, it could have skills, it could have attitude in the same ability that they are doing. Then we talk about entrustable professional activities. We define it and we compare it with, we compare entrustable professional activities with competencies and how they can know one from the other. We discuss the Dreyfus model and how people change from novice to expert and how we can detect each one of them. And sometimes we give them videos of certain student performance at an exam, and they have to decide at what level they can. Then there was an exercise about curriculum mapping. So the participants, they practiced how to do curriculum mapping for a unit first and then for a course. And we told them that this also applies for the whole curriculum. So this is handmade. They used to cut them and do all these things. An important concept that was discussed also is the educational alignment. So if you have an outcome, then you have to have a teaching method that matches that outcome. And you have to have an assessment method, whether formative or summative, that also measures exactly the outcome. We talked about this overlap and that the higher the area of 10, which is where the curriculum, teaching, assessment, and learning meet, the better alignment you have and the better teaching is taking place. The third module was assessment. And this module was designed on Miller's pyramid. So the first day is about knows and knows how. The second day is about shows how. And the third day is about does. So the first day is about written assessment. And we had a big fight for the blueprinting. We said we started talking about blueprinting in 2005. Believe me, the practice, it was like the most difficult thing to initiate. But in 2008, we started having the momentum starting. And I remember we published a paper in medical education about the impact of assessment of a medical education unit on assessment practices. And blueprinting was about 50% of the departments by then. So we used Miller's pyramid to design the module of assessment. The first day was on the knows and knows how, so written assessment. Second day, practical like OSCEs and assimilated. And the third day was about workplace-based assessment, portfolio, and what have you. And you see all these gray areas are activities. So we, increased the activity and hands-on as much as we could. And I'll show you part of these activities. Of course, we tell them that assessment starts with a proper writing of the learning outcome. Then you do the blueprint, and you might do standard setting, which is done before the exam. Then you construct the items and you give the exam, and then you do item analysis. And all of this should be based on the evidence. So this was one of the activities on script concordance. Of course, they have a long, maybe 2 or 3 hours on writing A-type and key features and EMQs, because we had a lot of EMQs in our new curriculum. And they post them on the wall and they get peer and they get instructor feedback. But one of the enjoyable activities was script concordance. So we were giving them hypotheses and we were giving them certain findings, and they had to score this, whether -2 to +2. And then we told them how the scoring was a bit tricky for this part, but they really loved it. Blueprinting was also given a big chunk of the assessment module. So they learned how to do blueprinting for the course. So in this one, we try to keep the specialties in one group. And so they do a blueprint for the written exam, blueprint for the OSCE exam. They do it practically. And then we discuss item analysis. We actually go over the report that is automatically generated by our exam center. We tell them about difficulty index, discrimination index, point by serial, and the distractor analysis, which was really very interesting findings. Some of the items, they had good discrimination, good difficulty, but they had a problem with the distractor analysis. Then we talked about the learning outcome achievement measurement, because that was an important part of the course report. And we had to teach them about, this is a whole cohort of students showing, each learning outcome, so in one glance, you can tell that these students did not know about conditions associated with osteoporosis or about treatment of osteoporosis. So the whole cohort failed these two outcomes, but they have excelled, for example, in clinical presentation of TB. They were very good in TB, they were very good in diabetes mellitus and in acute leukemia. So this is an essential part of every coordinator of a course when they write their course report, to know what was the learning outcome achievement, because now this tells them what they want to do for the next. This was a personal student, I just masked the name. So this student, when she gets her report, she will know that she has failed these outcomes. So she can remedy that before the next exam or before she appears for the next evaluation, and so on. So these kind of learning outcome achievement feedback was instilled into. In addition to that, when we were doing this criticism of some of the items, because we were in charge of the exam center and all the items were in our hand, and sometimes we see that some items are not up to the mark. So when we did this combined presentations, they did not like it. So what we did was a reach out program. So we go to each department and we show them some of the faulty items and why they are faulty. And this was really very useful. It was very appreciated by the departments. So for example, let us say internal medicine department had 100 items. I select from those 100, like 10 or 12 items that were questionable, that the students, how do we do that? We give them the upper quartile responses or selections, the lower quartile responses or selections. So here the key answer was B. But you see that the lower quartile, more number of the lower quartile chose it than the upper quartile. So there is negative discrimination. So we have to know why is this so. So distractor analysis with, for each specialty gave us a lot of insight into the item or sometimes the teaching that went behind it. The new item that we have added in the last 2 batches was score adjustment. How do we scale? Because we realize that some departments are doing this on their own by doing factor, multiplying by a factor, or by adding a certain number of scores to everybody, or subtracting and this. So we discussed what is the evidence in the literature about the proper way of score adjustment. And we talked a lot about standard setting, including the Hofstee method, or they call it also the compromise method. And we applied this with numbers and the contrast group method for the OSCE. So this was, in general, the content of the essential skills in health profession education. And we published this to show that as a model for interprofessional education. The beauty of putting all these physicians, nurses, dentists, clinical pharmacists, clinical nutrition and public health all together is that they were learning from each other. Nurses are very good, and I've learned a lot from nurses about how to write a course report. They are good in documenting, course specification. So we gained an additional point by having them together. And now we wanted to evaluate this program. Now we were taking, of course, the participants' views, and it was very high evaluation. So the first level was automatically done after each round or each module, and we were getting very high evaluation of that. We were doing also, if I remember, I told you about in certain parts we were doing pre and post tests to see if there was a gain in the knowledge of the participants. And sometimes we did also, we compared the quality of exams before and after the HP module. So we were comparing reliability, total reliability of exams, comparing the structural flaws, qualitative structural flaws percentage, and then this item indices. So how many negative discrimination we had before and after. So this was at the level of behavior or at the level of the workplace. Then we looked into institutional changes and into student performance. So this was part of my FAMER project, and I had two supervisors, Shia Yuan and Snegida Makurji. And we tried to do this evaluation at the third and fourth. So the first and second were done before, and we revised this paper by Yvonne Steinert on the faculty development initiatives for so many years, and how evaluation of those faculty development or the impact of this faculty development on education. So as I told you, the number 1 and 2 of Kirka, this is the Kirkpatrick model, which most of you are familiar with. So the evaluation at the first and second level were already done. My aim was to do the third and fourth level. And here I had to prove that there was a change in behavior and that the results or the performance of students was also improved. This was a paper that I was telling you about, the impact of medical education unit on assessment practices, which hinted to the institutional practices that have changed. So we used a mixed methods design, and we showed that the psychometrics of exams were better from before and after the HB. We showed that the school practices have changed, like blueprinting, and I'll show you what school practice I'm talking about. And we showed that the course evaluation surveys or the perceptions of students of their learning has improved. And then finally, we showed that the academic scores have improved. The only thing I didn't have access to was the SMLE scores, which was in the plan, but we didn't have enough data. So what are the changes in the institution? We had more participation in education conferences, more educational research publications. This was very clear. More collaborative courses, more collaborative research between different colleges, between different disciplines. The quality of course reports was, there was a jump start in the quality of course reports. The use of immediate response systems, clickers and iPad apps, innovative teaching strategies like TBL and flipped classroom. We had a very good practice of flipped classroom in the clinical pharmacy, which they have presented to everybody, and it was really remarkable. Assignments on Blackboard increased, leadership positions. Many of our candidates became vice deans and deans, and even one of them became a vice rector. So in general, we have shown that there was improvement in the exam quality, which means the skill of the faculty in writing items has improved. We have a change in the institutional practices as far as the blueprinting, as far as the quality of item review, that there was qualitative item review and the structural flaws. We showed that there was increase in student satisfaction about the courses and increase in or improvement in the student performance in the 4 main subjects, meaning surgery, pediatric, medicine, and OB/GYN. Just for the fun of it, I will show you the elevator speech, which I made. It's a video about Can you hear the sound, or is it mute?
No voice.
No voice.
Voice. Okay, then there's no point. Let me just skip that. And I want to share with you the good news that we gained Aspire recognition for student engagement in the 2021. It was announced at AME 2021. And this is the brochure for the HB course, showing this was the last batch which we had in the e-learning deanship building. And it shows the 3 modules, the objectives, and we used a lot of role play when we discussed, what is it? Role play was, we had appraisal system and we had feedback, yes. One of the things that we really gave a lot of emphasis in the last 3-4 batches is the feedback, how to give feedback and how to, in a narrative and, using the certain protocols for feedback. Because out of the education environment measurement, we have learned that they are not happy about counseling. Our students are not happy about counseling. They are not happy about feedback. So they give it the lowest score. And some of them said that your exams do not reflect what we learn, that you teach us something, you examine us something else. So these two issues were really outstanding. So this brochure was meant to market the course, because we really want, I told you in the beginning that my dream was to have something that I will not subject a student to a faculty who have been probably had 2 PhDs or the fellowship at Stanford or best university in the world, and they come and they don't have even the minimum of educational experience or educational skills, and our students suffer. So I wanted this to be mandatory, and I want to share with you that I actually went to the Minister of Higher Education at that time 2 or 3 times, showing him that we want this to be mandatory for all the faculty. And I hope one day that this becomes a reality, and that we will never allow faculty, because of their profession or their qualification, to teach without any training on how to teach. Thank you for listening. And this was to me like a journey in the past, and I really would like to answer your questions.
Thank you so much, Prof. Mona, for giving insight about the course. And it's really wonderful in a way that it's taking care of all aspects which a good medical education course should have. Good constructive alignment, especially the way you are going in depth about learning outcomes and measuring assessments. It's wonderful. So let's take questions. So yes, Prof. Khalid.
Yeah, it's really a very impressive presentation from Dr. Mona, and I must congratulate you for presenting your the beauty. I think it's applying the principles of teaching and learning theories and the essential skills on something you already experienced in a quick journey. And that's good. Somebody, when you present a talk like this, you presented from your experience, and you support this with your evidence. And this is really a good example of webinar and presentation. Again, I would like to congratulate you for and your school for having the Aspire Award of Students Engagement this year. And I think you deserve it, because I come across to your report, and it was well written, and the evidence that you presented very encouraging, and you deserved this very prestigious award. Let me just give you a one suggestion, because your journey and your course reminded me back in 2010 to 12, when the Dean's Committee, Saudi Deans and the GCC Deans adopted a course similar to this course, your course, but we call it GCC Certificate Course, where we have 3 days modules. In each day, we present one theme, like curriculum design and development, and teaching and learning strategies, and then the assessment. And we rotating among medical schools in GCC countries. What is my suggestion is to present your module and your structured course to the Dean's Committee, because it's really very essential, not just for your faculty, for all faculty members in other schools. And it is not only for newcomers or junior staff, it's also for senior staff, because medical education, like medicine, it is growing. There is so many improvement, especially those supported by evidence. So I recommend that if you can't do it, I will do it for you, because we have a connection with the deans, and probably they will accept. And it has to be also a team, not only you or 2 or 3 faculty. It has to be a list of or a pool of well-trained expert faculty that rotate among medical schools. And one day, after examining this idea, I'm sure it's going to be an essential and mandatory and prerequisite course for any faculty who will be appointed and teaching our students. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Khaled. This was actually the advice I got from FEMA. They told me you have to market this in a, and when I told them about the deans, they said you have to go talk to the deans board, and you have to get it through. So with your help, Prof. Khaled, maybe we can do that, and more people will be able to benefit from it. And actually what gave us this momentum is that those who attended, they gave us, the feedback was more than when we expected. We always were looking at the deficiencies, but they gave us, and they directed the evolution. Like this was started in 2011, and the last one is in 2020. So we had the long term of evolution of this, the content of the course. They told us we want more activity, we want to add this, we want to subtract this. So we were listening. It was ongoing, and as you know, I have already told you about the basis of it, that it was built on what the students told us, what the faculty told us, what the NCAA needed, and what our institution needed, which will be the same probably for all the kingdoms. So I think with your help, maybe this can be as you said, like essential, like nobody can teach without, this is the minimum requirement. Okay, you want to do more, you are more than welcome, but this is, without it, you cannot teach.
Thank you.
I can see hands raised. I think
Yes, Dr. Mansoor.
Yes, thank you so much, Prof. Mona, Dr. Mona. As usual, mashallah, you are adding to us a lot of your wonderful practice. And I would like to thank SSME Riyadh for this opportunity. My point is in simple, because I was in a position of one of attendees of such a program when I joined the academia. Then I turned to be a faculty developer when I choose to go to medical education. My point, Dr. Mona, is you need to put something that really relevant to the faculty. For example, those people attending, in their minds, their roles, not only as a teacher, as a researcher, as a clinician, as a maybe admin. So they came to those courses or activities with all of this burden in their minds, and they ask themselves, what is there for me in this activity? So I can refer to the scholarship of teaching. What all of we are doing till now is scholarly part of teaching, but why not to open the door for them for scholarship of teaching, i.e. Giving them the space that you can do something new by your own, from your own experience, and transfer it to be a scholar, things that can be published, and you will be praised for that, either in the college or in your promotion. In this way, I think people start to be more engaged. So I suggest that for you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and I think we can probably add a 4th module on research, because when I did my MHPE, there were 4 modules. And the 4th module was management and research. So what you are saying is exactly true. And by the way, the momentum of our modules were all evidence-based. We were always talking about the literature, to the degree that I remember from the second or third batch, a paper came out on FEAM, or the Postgraduate Hospital Education Environment Measurement. There was a pediatrician, a surgeon, internist, and myself. We made we did that research. So there was a lot of increase in scholarship, but if to address educational research as such, maybe we can add a fourth module. Yeah, that will make it more complete. I totally agree.
Yes, I hope it's clear, Dr. Mansoor. Yes, Dr.
Yes,
Mardi.
thank you so much.
Yes, Dr. Al-Mardi.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Shazia. And thank you very much, Dr. Mona, for, first of all, I think the course is fantastic and the presentation was fascinating. So thank you very much. I want to build on what Professor Khalid mentioned, and I have a question and a suggestion. I totally agree with Prof. Khalid that you need to market this course for the GCC deans. I actually started my journey in medical education or hospital physician education with the certificate that Dr. Prof. Khalid mentioned. I attended the certificate in Sultan Qaboos University in 2003. And I also attended the esme-Mona in 2009. But when I looked at Dr. Mona, it evolved a lot, and it's now a fantastic course. So I totally agree with Prof. Khalid. The second thing, I think maybe the Prof. Khalid suggestion might take some time. So I am going to propose to start with a partnership with us as the SESME Riyadh board. And my proposal, or a question, then a proposal, do you have an online version of it, a totally online version of it or not? And if not, we would like to partner with you to convert it into an online one and offer it to everybody, because not everybody can go to the MAM or come to Riyadh or go to wherever. So this is my question and proposal. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prof. Abdul Naim. I think it's an excellent suggestion, but the issue is that some faculty, for example, in the last batch, we did the 2 modules and they are left with the 3rd module, and they are after me like, please give us the 3rd module, which is assessment, because we want to. No, I think what they were left with the curriculum design. So they want to do it. So we thought of doing it online, but they are resistant because they want the hands-on. They like when they sit together, cut, paper or write and post on the walls. Yeah, we need, if we have good technology, we can do all of this. Even hands-on can be done. I've been teaching with esme-Mona Fry. This is my 2nd time online. So we are teaching students from Egypt, from all over the world, in this Egyptian chapter of Pbl, all online. And I can see that it works. So maybe with some help, we can launch it all online. In that case, then it becomes, if we make it mandatory, then nobody can say, I can't do it, because it is there. They can always, just like when you take a certificate before doing human research, the PHRP or the BLS course, it becomes something that is available to everybody.
If I may comment, if you give me a chance again, Shazia.
Yes, please.
Your group work, we are now experimenting with that. I am now teaching in the master's degree of health professional education, University of Khartoum. And we have a group here in Riyadh, in Saudi Arabia. So they come, in Saudi Arabia, they come to a place, and in Khartoum, they come to another place, and then through technology, we do the group work.
Yes.
They are face-to-face, but in different places, and through Zoom and breakout rooms and all of that,
Yes.
we could, and we are going to publish that. But I think it's doable.
Yeah, totally agree. But you need the right, expertise in the field. Yes, yeah. Totally agree.
Thank you. Yes, Dr. Muhammad Bahar.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Shazia. Thank you so much, Prof. Mona, for this very informative and interesting presentation reflecting your experience. I have just one question for now. It's about change management in promoting medical education. That's to say, always we have new methods in teaching and assessment, but is it wise to implement these methods in every medical school, or is it safer for first to establish good absorption of the faculty about the traditional or classic themes currently in medical education, and then moving. One example is that we used to apply standard setting and advanced IRT theory in assessment, for example, in the modular program in Egypt, in Ain Shams University, my medical school. But for example, in here in our medical school, we are sticking or maintaining the good absorption of item and classic item analysis and the classic assessment policies until we ensure that this is disseminated and it is a common culture, and then we can move to a new, or should we make both? For example, we can start this year introducing a standard setting, introducing new methods, or for example, even in teaching like TBL and BBL and so on. Thank you so much.
Yes, I totally agree with you. We have to start with the basics. I mean, you cannot teach without being able to give a lecture, proper lecture. You cannot teach without being able to write a proper multiple choice question. But you can do without script components. I mean, if they don't know how to do it, that's not a big deal. Although it's the best item for clinical reasoning. And I had such an enthusiasm for these items, but they have not been used so far in our college, not yet. But you need to start, the momentum. You need to start the faculty thinking about it and being convinced. It takes a long time. It took us from 2005 to 2008 to start blueprinting. And it took us from, for the EMQs, for example, until we had this partnership with Monash, our faculty were not convinced about the EMQs. But, I think one of the things that helped us, we had a R-type wizard, it is called. It's a CD, which makes writing the extended matching questions easier because they had those list of options ready-made, alphabetically ordered. So all they needed to put is the scenarios. But still they were reluctant till we had this new curriculum, and then that was like, they were forced to do it. So I agree with you. We have to go by the essentials. But this doesn't mean that we will not follow the well-established methods like team-based learning or problem-based learning, or even flipped classroom. The clinical pharmacy in our university, college, have done excellent work on the flipped classroom, because here you are giving more time to practice, to application. And we are talking that our students have to have longer retention and have to be better in application rather than memorizing. And if you go to I just posted the link in the chat. If you go to Dylan's lecture on, or plenary on what is learning is all about, it's about long-term memory. So when the students work by their hand, when they apply the knowledge, they remember it. And this is we just want to have better education. That's the main purpose. If you feel your faculty cannot do PBL, then that's not important. We are not stuck on one strategy, what I'm trying to say. Just try to weigh and balance things. If you can, pull your faculty towards innovative strategy and they're going to implement it well and you are going to have effective learning, do it. If not, traditional is not bad. I mean, we graduated from traditional curriculum, but also we want better for the next batches. I mean, we don't want them to go through the same things. We want them to have a more, because the 21st century require more skills.
Thank you, Dr. Mona. Yes.
Thanks. This is very clear. Thank you so much. Very clear.
Prof. Hassan, yes. Hassan Darami.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mona. It was really interesting. My question is probably quick, the other side of your journey. Probably with all these changes and the milestone that you've been through, some kind of resistance, right, from the faculty or client, if I may say, in marketing. How did you deal with this in order to make it this journey successful?
Mm-hmm. We did not have any resistance with the workshops. They were very keen to come to the workshops. Actually, if we did not tell them, like if we missed somebody or some department, we were, they were very cross with us. Like, why didn't you tell us? Our faculty are very keen to attend, and you will see the same faculty attending every workshop, even if you repeat it. Like for example, the HP course, some faculty sat for us 2 times or 3 times. They just like it. They just love it. They find it interesting. So we had no resistance in attending the workshops, but we had resistant application of what we taught them. For example, blueprinting, we started in 2005. They found it very complicated. And maybe the system did not help them as well. I mean, there were no policies, there were no departmental, system about, blueprinting. But then we managed to convince the administration, and it is mandatory now. No exam is approved in the faculty board without being accompanied by a blueprint, by an item analysis report, and by a reflection of the coordinator on that report. So the resistance is not in attending the workshops, but I heard that elsewhere in the world, and this is what Prof. Clark has said, that they had to go after faculty to attend the workshops. Nobody wanted to attend. In our case, we did not find that. It was the other way around. And they are chasing me now to give them this course design. There's one module left from the last batch. So they are really keen to develop themselves.
Yes, thank you. Yes, Farzana Are.
Yes, Assalamu alaikum. I'm professor of OBG in Taif Medical College. Dr. Mona, congratulations very much, very impressive and a very knowledge-flowing lecture we heard. And really, I am also an MHP candidate from Pakistan. My question is that though we are talking about latest teaching methodologies, we are applying, we are trying to do, but what I observed, I am working here in 2013 in this education site in Saudi Arabia. What I am getting is that though we are, especially this problem-based learning, for example, we also tried TBL also. We had 2 sessions of TBLs here in 2 years. But what I am asking from you is that what is the tricks to involve a student? Is still what I am feeling is our students are not coming up with their active participation in PBLs. This is what I am observing still. I mean, what is the basic concept of PBL is there's an active involvement, session 1, session 2, everything, but still we are not getting up to that target levels, what we are expecting from this.
Mm-hmm. It's not only in PBL, Farzana, it's in student-directed learning in general. I mean, they have to be accountable for their own learning. I think we created that spirit in our students, that you only learn what we tell you, you only succeed if you answer what we tell you. And so we really, we have to impart on our students this concept that their role is much bigger than in the past, that they have to have a self-development plan. They have to have self-assessment. They have to really be responsible for their own learning. And I think with role modeling, we can do it. We have to have, this is why I said, if you remember my first slide, that not only we need to have the same skills we want them to have, but we also have to have the skills imparting those skills. Like, how can we make them self-directed learners? This is
That's why my question is this, that what should we use? Because I am after every PBL session, I am get frustrated. Though I am motivating them, I'm giving them free hand. They are, I mean, talking, the students are talking, but still what I am actually trying to get from the student is still not up to the mark.
Yeah, maybe we need to discuss the cognitive load, like how much a student can do. Like I had an interesting experiment with Colin Greengrass from the Royal College of Surgeons. We had on pharmacy students, we divided them into 7 groups, and we realized that sometimes the students, if we give them a task without any prior explanation, they find it difficult because the external load and the internal load is so much that it prevents them from proceeding. So we need to have, we need to be aware of how much cognitive load there is in the task we are, and we need, we don't want the load to be low because we want them to develop. So there has to be some German load where they can build schemata and improve their learning ability, because learning is not about facts. It's not about diseases. Diseases will change. For example, the COVID-19 is new. It's not in the textbooks yet. So we need them to be able to learn. So we need to develop their learning ability more than developing their knowledge.
Thank you very much.
We need another webinar on this one, I think.
Yes, Dr. Ali.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you very much. My name is Dr. Ali Raheli. I'm a Master of Medical Education based in Riyadh. I really enjoyed all the informations, Dr. Mona, you gave us. Just I have a brainstorms. The project you propose is quite good for one stakeholders, maybe the faculties. How about the student for the long run? So, I mean, we have the component, the content of this course. Make it, for example, as an elective for the 6th-year medical student to, for example, go into this elective. Instead of 3 days, we can make it in about like 4 weeks. And maybe if we can do it as an elective in the universities and we spread the news, it can be really a very good start for the future's educator instead of only concentrating on the faculty. So we are going to, just even spread the news within the future educators, the student, to know about the concepts of medical educations, about lots of learning theories and teaching methods. So, and even from a regulator point of view, it would be much easier for elective the universities. They have the authorities to adopt things which goes with the NCA AAAs. So this is something, it comes to my mind, rather than just focusing on the faculties, we should also ask a really active participation of other important stakeholders, the student, in elective part of this course. Thank you.
Ali, 2 years ago, before the COVID pandemic, the college asked us to make a 2-credit-hour course for 6th year, just like what you are saying, exactly. So we designed the course, we prepared the lectures and the assignments and everything, and assessment. And this course had how you take an exam, how you attend a lecture and take notes. It was about how you take feedback. It was about reporting medical error. We collected all the things that we thought were missing in the curriculum. Academic writing, so they were, like a collection of all these gaps that we found in the curriculum. And I will be happy to share that course with you in another webinar, maybe, because I feel it's like a fortune that is missing, that is not being used. The course, we spent like 6 months preparing for that course. We prepared everything, all the details, even the timetabling was done. And then the college decided, no, our students are already overloaded. We want them to do research instead of this one. But as you say, I think students need a lot of, before they go into internship. Like they don't know how to report a medical error, or they don't know a lot of ethical dilemmas, how to deal with their professors, or how to be, their moral compass gets confused within certain restrictions. So they need a lot of additional tuning before they graduate. I totally agree.
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Mona. I think all question has been answered, and I can see that a lot of congratulations for your Aspire Award to you and your team. There is one question in chat box by Dr. Nazidar, that how many teachers participates in each batch, and how many facilitators are there during workshops to facilitate?
Yes, we had 3 to 5 facilitators for each module, and we did not accept more than 25 participants. So we had a lot of pressure. So sometimes we had to offer it twice a year in order to cover the need, but we will never allow, because there was a lot of hands-on, and we were supervising them during the hands-on. And some of the activities, all the 5 of us were there, because it needed a lot of supervision and a lot of interaction.
Yeah. One more comment by Naga. She is asking you that if you can deliver this course for their faculty. I think probably
Where?
Yes. Everyone will be interested that there should be a course at their institution. So hopefully you can think, we can think of collaborations at the moment. I think this is, we are running short of time now. I think we have answered all questions. At the end, a very quick question from my side, Dr. Mona, that in your modules, as you know that these days there is a lot of stress on technology enhanced learning, and we are like with modern era, a lot of changes have been done in undergrad curriculum as well. So especially during COVID era, we moved towards blended learning. So what do you think that, did you need to change your course, or and which module is being stressed when we talk about technology enhanced learning?
In both the teaching and learning module and assessment we had, and even in the curriculum design, we had one session on technology. So for example, we talked about Socrative, use Socrative in rapid quizzes, Kahoot, and Padlet.com, and creating a link with the students, giving them feedback. So in each module, there was a section about technology. It is very important. I'm sorry I did not mention it. But as you said, these things, they were increasing every minute. And we had a little session also about use of the Blackboard. I mean, we have an e-learning deanship in charge of these things, but we thought that we wanted our faculty to know, for example, how to upload, the simple, little skills for dealing with the learning management system in general. So thank you for that question, Shazia.
Thank you so much, and thank you for this fantastic webinar and reflection on your journey. It was wonderful session. So I would say now goodbye, or to all participants. Thank you very much for joining us today, and thank you, Prof. Mona, for joining us.
Thank you for your patience.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Appreciate
it. I would say bye-bye to all.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you all.
Alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Assalamu alaikum.